4, follow traffic, clear visual approach, runway 4 right, maintain 17, John Austin, 5 mile final. 17 till 5 out.
A look at some of the highlights of what promises to be a can't-miss edition of our industry's premier annual event. From the National Business Aviation Association, this is Flight Plan. I'm Rob Finfrock. The 2024 edition of NBAA's Business Aviation Convention and Exhibition begins Tuesday, October 22nd in Las Vegas, Nevada. NBAA-BACE is the largest business aviation event in the world that brings our industry together to ignite imaginations and unlock the future. For more about what makes this year's edition of NBAA-BACE a show unlike any other, I'm pleased to welcome Christy Greco-Johnson, NBAA's Senior Vice President of Government Affairs, along with Dan Hubbard, the Association's Senior Vice President of Communications, who emphasizes this is a lot more than just a meeting for those working in business aviation.
NBAA-BACE, it's a moment unlike any other. It's a very unique event. It's the world's most powerful business aviation event. And that's because it's a very powerful advocacy platform where we can really introduce top government officials to the business aviation community and explain its value to them. It's a top media platform. We get hundreds of reporters from news organizations, not just in the US, but from all around the world. It's a top venue where we can all come together to learn from each other, both hearing from top experts, but also learning from each other in a peer-to-peer way. And of course, it's a top marketplace where people unveil new products, services, announcements all throughout the show week. So lots of excitement, enthusiasm, and energy as we look forward to this year's edition of NBAA-BACE.
Christy, Dan mentioned how the show serves as an important advocacy platform and an opportunity to hear from top-level government regulators and officials. Who all is participating in NBAA-BACE this year?
Really excited about the group of policymakers and lawmakers that are coming to NBAA-BACE this year, starting with Chairman Sam Graves and Ranking Member Rick Larsen of the House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee. I mean, these are the two leading lawmakers that drafted the FAA reauthorization bill in the House. Chairman Graves himself is a GA pilot, and Ranking Member Larsen has a lot of aviation companies and workers in his district in Washington state. They really understand aviation and were really able to put forward a powerful FAA reauthorization bill that gave the agency a mandate to help keep the United States on the cutting edge and leading globally in aviation. We'll also have the FAA's administrator, Mike Whitaker, who's about a year into the job, kicking off our keynote program on Tuesday morning, talking about the challenges and opportunities facing the agency and how he's going to implement that new FAA reauthorization law, including the integration of new technologies like advanced air mobility. We've got on hand the Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary in the Office of Energy Efficiency at the Department of Energy, who's working on helping to integrate advanced air mobility and deliver the technologies that will enable electric aviation and emissions-free aviation. We'll also have executive leadership at the Federal Aviation Administration, Associate Administrator for Aviation Safety, Dave Bolter, CEO of the FAA's Air Traffic Organization, Tim Morrell, Assistant Administrator for NextGen, Paul Fontaine, who are going to talk about the new initiatives and projects at the FAA in aviation safety and air traffic, as well as the newly mandated transition from NextGen to the Airspace Modernization Office. They'll be a part of an exciting panel that our convention goers love to attend, which is the Meet the Regulators panel discussion at a new feature at NBAA-BACE called Flight Deck, where we're bringing top leaders in industry and government together to talk about the leading challenges and exciting opportunities ahead for the industry.
Dan, Christy mentioned that FAA Administrator Whitaker will be speaking during the keynote session. Who else will be there?
NBAA's convention always starts off with a truly exciting keynote session. It sets the tone for the whole week. Certainly that's what we're going to have this year. So Christy mentioned that we were going to have Administrator Whitaker. We're looking forward to that. We will also have with us Bombardier's two legendary leaders, Lauren and Pierre Baudouin. They're going to receive NBA's highest honor. We call it our Meritorious Service to Aviation Award. We want to recognize their visionary leadership. They've created a whole new market category for business aircraft. They've really driven the industry's sustainability focus, and they've been pioneers at elevating safety professionalism. So we want to take a moment and bestow our highest honor on those two and their achievements. And we're also going to have with us someone who needs no introduction, Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's an award-winning astrophysicist. He's a renowned futurist. He's a best-selling author. He'll be with us to share his thought-provoking perspectives about all the dazzling possibilities on the horizon, whether it's in the aviation and aerospace industry or beyond. So a lot to look forward to as we start the show week in Las Vegas.
Speaking of looking toward the future, Christy, NBAA-BACE always focuses on what lies ahead for our industry. That includes the emerging Advanced Air Mobility segment, or AAM.
Yes, Rob. I'm excited this year that we'll have a few of NBAA's Advanced Air Mobility Roundtable members exhibiting in our Emerging Technology Pavilion. Joby, as well as Lilium, and then Electra will also be exhibiting. And NBAA-BACE is happening in mid-October at a time when we're going to see from FAA a new regulatory structure to help safely integrate AAM into the national airspace. They're poised to release their special federal aviation regulation, or SFAR, which is guidance for pilot training and operating AAM in the NAS. So there's a few companies that'll be prepared to launch commercial operations as soon as 2025. So we're really on the precipice of some exciting new technologies.
In fact, Dan, I understand attendees will also have the chance to experience for themselves the advantages of on-demand aerial mobility at the show.
You bet, Rob. We'll have a feature that is always just thrilling, which is the aircraft display itself, right? And so we'll have the whole diversity of business aviation aircraft out there, everything from single engine pistons all the way up to long range, large cabin business jets. But that's not all we're going to have out there this year. We are also bringing back a really popular feature, which is Blade Air Mobility's shuttle between the Las Vegas Convention Center and the airport itself. So in addition to being able to provide convenient access from the convention center to the airport by just going right over the highway, what that will also do is give people a firsthand look at how this mode of advanced air mobility on-demand transportation is going to look in the future, which is to say, we know that business aviation is one of the most efficient ways to travel, but a lot of times, one of the things that makes it the most challenging is getting from someone's office through a very, very congested downtown area out to the airport to get to the airplane so you could start the mission in the first place. So what we see are emerging technologies, new business models where they are saying, let's start at a location with this advanced air mobility technology, and we're going to take you over the congested area. We're going to eliminate that barrier to the efficiency of business aviation, get you right to the airport, and help you get started on your mission right away. And then the same thing can happen when you return from a business aviation mission. So we call it a first mile and a final mile. They are solving that first and final mile problem. It's thrilling to be able to get to experience this firsthand at our convention. We're very pleased to be able to bring it to showgoers.
AAM is also a key part of business aviation's work toward greater sustainability and achieving net zero carbon emissions by 2050. Christy, I understand this year's NBAA-BACE coincides with a pretty significant anniversary in that effort.
Rob, you may remember that we launched the Climbing Fast initiative at the 2023 NBAA-BACE, and it's an advocacy campaign to drive our industry's sustainability narrative and remind policymakers and lawmakers of our commitment to achieve net zero carbon emissions by 2050. But it also really stresses our societal benefits of connecting communities, of creating jobs and stimulating the economy, of carrying out a special humanitarian mission. And we've made a lot of progress in a year. We introduced the initiative to Capitol Hill in January with a conversation with the House Bipartisan Climate Solutions Caucus. And this is a group of members on both sides of the aisle that are focused on practical solutions to help address the climate crisis in a practical way. And they really responded to the industry leaders that came together to talk about walking the talk and leading in sustainability. We also welcome new partners like the National Aviation Fraternity Alpha Eta Rho and invited them to participate in a Capitol Hill fly-in where these college students were able to engage in a conversation about climbing fast and business aviation's leadership with their lawmakers. And that's a really powerful conversation to be able to talk about how business aviation is impacting their communities. This summer, we launched a messaging campaign in local communities to talk about the leadership of members of Congress who are participating in new sustainable aviation caucuses. There's a new caucus in the House and a new caucus in the Senate. And these will be lawmakers who are focused on exactly what our mission is, to help advance programs and technologies that will help reduce emissions. Things like sustainable aviation fuel, research and development in more efficient engines and more efficient aircraft. This is really an opportunity for us to strengthen our relationships with these lawmakers and build opportunities to help advance sustainable aviation in the future. So we're excited to talk about at NBAA-BACE the opportunities for 2025 with a new Congress and a new White House administration. There's a lot of great opportunities in the future for climbing fast.
And Dan, that sustainability message will also be highlighted in other ways throughout the show.
NBAA-BACE is unique in that it brings together experts from all aspects of business aviation. That's true also when it comes to the near dizzying pace of change we're seeing in terms of business aviation sustainability these days. And that's going to culminate with a 2-day Business Aviation Sustainability Summit. It's going to feature authoritative sources from all points in the value chain. You know, the old saying goes that when we think about sustainability, we want to think globally, but act locally. And that's what we find in our industry, is that at the local level, within their own companies, at their own airports, within their own flight departments, people want to help, but often they don't know. They think about sustainability as a big issue and they say, wow, how do I begin to tackle that in my flight department, at my company, at my airport? And we are able to bring the experts together who can help them put those pieces of the puzzle together so they can understand how they can make a contribution on the ground and in the air. You know, if everybody is able to make a contribution, we are going to make a very big difference in very little time. So we're very excited about the Sustainability Summit this year.
Another key theme, not just at the convention, but also at NBAA's regional events across the country, is safety.
Safety is the industry's top priority. It's a core value. And boy, 2024 has been a year marked by a number of developments, important developments when it comes to safety, right? We have seen the FAA introduce a new safety management system, or SMS, mandate. We can see that the agency's position on aviator mental wellness is evolving in meaningful ways that matter to pilots in business aviation. We've also seen a series of unique incidents and accidents with the FAA kind of sharpening its focus on all that. And we're going to bring all that together at NBAA-BACE, just as we always do, with some of the top experts at 3 important venues during the show, right in the midst of the show. So we'll have our National Safety Forum, our Single Pilot Safety Stand Down, and our Small Operator Symposium. As you can tell just by the names from these program offerings, what we're trying to do is come at safety from every angle and have something for everyone, all the way down from the single owner aviator all the way up to the largest flight department. I think it's also worth mentioning that we're going to recognize excellence in business aviation safety with our highest safety award. It's called the Above and Beyond Award. And we're going to give that to a flight attendant, a heroic flight attendant named Sydney Bozeman's. Basically, Sydney, through her professionalism and training, she made a critical difference in a true crisis moment. She was aboard a charter flight. The flight lost both engines, unfortunately, did crash into a highway. Both pilots were lost, but she was so thoroughly trained on that aircraft that when seconds mattered, She understood that the luggage compartment could allow for herself and the people in the cabin to crawl through the luggage compartment door and emerge to safety. And therefore, people's lives were saved that otherwise might have been lost in that crisis moment. That speaks to professionalism. It speaks to safety training. We want to honor that. And that's why we're going to recognize Sydney with our Above and Beyond Award this year. So a very important year in terms of safety, a very important convention when it comes to a sharp focus on safety.
You know, there's really too much going on at NBAA-BACE to be able to highlight it all in just one podcast. But Christy, one last part of the show that deserves mention, I think, is Collegiate Connect, which draws high school and college students from around the area to learn more about career opportunities in business aviation.
Collegiate Connect at NBAA-BACE is one of our best features. As you know, there's a whole diversity of aviation careers in business aviation and a lot of exciting opportunities. It's a free event for students, faculty, and chaperones. And in addition to the Collegiate Connect programming, there will be a career fair as well, an opportunity to apply for those new jobs and get a start on a new career. We're excited to have Congresswoman Dina Titus there to welcome the students and kick off Collegiate Connect on Thursday morning. She represents Las Vegas and also sits on the House Transportation Aviation Subcommittee. So she knows a lot about business aviation, is a big supporter, and is excited to help inspire students to get involved in a business aviation career.
NBAA-BACE 2024 kicks off Tuesday, October 22nd and runs through the 24th. Learn more about the sessions and events we discussed today, and of all the other exciting highlights we didn't get to by visiting nbaa.org/2024. Last-minute registration is still available as well, so there's really no excuse not to see you too in Las Vegas. And that's the latest from the National Business Aviation Association. Be sure to subscribe to Flight Plan on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. You can also ask your virtual assistant or connected device for the latest episode of Flight Plan, or download it directly from nbaa.org. I'm Rob Finfrock. Thanks for listening, and join us next time for a new episode of Flight Plan.
Right base, sending out 3500.
All right, we got him inside. We're slowing it back to 170.